Let's get into the word this morning. Genesis 27, we're going to begin in verse 41. Genesis 27, verse 41, and we're going to go through 28, 22. We'll go all the way through the end of 28. Now Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, the days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. But the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, behold, your brother Esau comforts himself about you by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice. Arise, flee to Laban, my brother in Haran, and stay with him a while until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereft of you both in one day? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I loathe my life because of the Hittite women. If Jacob marries one of the Hittite women like these, one of the women of the land, what good will my life be to me? Then Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and directed him, you must not take a wife from the Canaanite women. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take as your wife from there one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may become a company of peoples. May he give you the blessing of Abraham to you and to your offspring with you, that you may take possession of the land of your sojournings that God gave to Abraham. Thus Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, the son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. Now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram to take a wife from there. And that as he blessed him, he directed him, you must not take a wife from the Canaanite women. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Padan Aram. So when Esau saw that the Canaanite women did not please Isaac, his father, Esau went to Ishmael and took as his wife, besides the wives he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he came to a certain place and stayed there that night, because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to the heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on the top of it. He called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. And this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give a full tenth to you. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You can be seated. Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news this morning. The bad news is I'm probably going to offend everyone in this room at some point in this message. So this should be fun. Welcome to TJC if you're newer here. And let me tell you why it will be offensive. Let me give you a look under the hood of why it's going to be offensive. Because I'm going to put my finger on some sin. I'm going to put my finger on some things that we individually do as men and as women in our culture, and I'm going to point out where we're often rebellious, and you're going to feel a little conviction, and what you might feel is that your little inner lawyer rises up and starts coming to your defense like, but, you know, not you, I'm not like that, right? I don't always do that. And what happens in these cases is we immediately go to, not only is this not true about me, but you shouldn't say stuff like that. Let me just warn you. I'm going to say some things that are politically incorrect today, okay? One of the, yeah, y'all are excited? Wait till afterwards. We'll see if you applause then, all right? Here's why it's going to be considered politically incorrect. Because that's the label we put on things that we don't want to feel convicted about. What we say is that you're not supposed to say that. And the reason why is because we like to have our consciences dulled. We want them stunted so that we don't feel conviction. Because if we feel conviction, that means I'm out of bounds, I'm out of line with God, and I've got to repent. And our culture doesn't really promote that. So I'm going to press in on that, and I want you to feel it. But watch, here's the great news today. Here's where we're going. You're also going to see in this text and in this message how lavish the grace of God is to sinners. You're going to see how kind God is to keep pursuing sinners who don't deserve his grace. Okay? And then at the end of the message, I think you might recognize Jesus in this text. You may not have recognized him already when I read it. You may be like, what do you mean? Jesus is in this text, whether you recognized him or not. At the end of the message, I'm going to bring that into focus. So here's the name of my sermon this morning. Sinful People, a Gracious God, and True Worship. Sinful people, a gracious God, and true worship. Let's begin with sinful people. In verses 41 through 46, we see Esau hates Jacob, right? The blessing had been given to Jacob from Isaac, right? Isaac gives him not only the inheritance, but he is going to be the heir of the family. He's going to receive the blessings, right? He was just scandaled out of his birthright, all these different things. And so he's going to plot to kill his brother Jacob, but he's going to wait till his dad dies, okay? So he doesn't want to cause any extra problems for his father. He doesn't want any retaliation. He's going to wait till his father dies, and then he'll act to kill Jacob. Now, whether or not he was plotting this internally alone, it's very clear that the word gets out what his intentions are, because what happens? Rebekah finds out. Jacob and Esau's mom finds out that this is his plot. So what does she do? She goes to Jacob and tells him, and then she concocts a plan to send Jacob away to her homeland. Now, there's two reasons she's going to do this. One, because it gives time for Esau maybe to cool off a little bit. Right? He's immediately angry. Maybe time will allow for him to calm down. The second reason is he can marry someone from her land and from where she's from instead of among the Canaanites. Okay? So she fears Esau is going to carry out this plan. Don't forget, she's very aware of how Eve, the first mother, had two sons and one killed the other one. So she doesn't want to see a repeat of this. So she concocts a plan to send Jacob away. So what does she do? She goes to her husband. She goes to Isaac and she says, oh my goodness, I don't know how I'm going to live with myself if our son Jacob marries a Hittite. I just don't know if I'll be able to have a life worth living if he marries a Canaanite woman from this land. And you think to yourself, well, that's not what she's said to Jacob. This whole thing was about Esau killing Jacob. And why does she go to Isaac and say, I don't know what I'm going to do if my son marries one of these Hittite, Canaanite women? She goes to Isaac and she does this whole feigning couch routine. Why? Because she wants Isaac to send Jacob away. This is her plan. This is her plot, okay? So already in the story, whether you've recognized it, we see the reality of what sinful men and women are capable of. Let me outline this for you, okay? There's great news for sinners here. We've got sinners be sinning since 2000 BC, right? I mean, the things we see in this story, we can immediately apply and think about our own lives. I want to start with looking at Esau, a very bitter and resentful, angry man. He's fueled with rage. He's not just mad at Jacob. He's not just mad at his dad, Isaac. He's not just mad at his mother, Rebekah, who are all, different players in this whole thing. Ultimately, who does he hate the most? Himself. Why does Esau hate himself? Because he, through his folly and his choices, have given up his birthright and his inheritance. But does Esau take personal responsibility for any of his actions? No. Does he take any responsibility for what he has brought to this table? No. It's his own folly and his own foolishness that has put him in this position. But watch, where is his anger directed? It's directed at everybody else. Because he's unwilling to take personal accountability, because he's unwilling to take responsibility for his own choices, what does he want to do? He wants to now kill his brother. Now, ladies, listen to me here. This might be something that, like a man, you could be susceptible to. But I would argue that men who do not take responsibility and who make a habit of blame shifting their folly onto everybody else become very dangerous men in our culture. This is the problem we see in our culture right now, by the way. Men who don't take personal responsibility, men who don't take accountability for their own actions, who then want to hurt everybody else because they hate themselves. Gentlemen, don't live in the grips of bitterness and resentment. You need to take those things where you find them in you and take them to the Lord. You need to seek to forgive those who you think have hurt you, but here's what you need to ultimately do. This is for young men and older men all the way through. Take responsibility in your life. Take ownership of how your own sin and folly have often led to the consequences that you seek in your life and experience in your life. Don't blame shift. Don't seek to avoid responsibility. Own it. And let me point out another thing in this story that I think we better put our eyes on really quick. What is Esau ultimately angry about, or what is he lashing out for? He didn't get the blessing of his father. This is a story about a man who more than anything wants his father's blessing, and he doesn't get it. And now he is angry. Is that not the culture we live in today? Full of young men with father hunger, looking for the blessing of their father but don't have it? Is this not what every child needs, men and women? A father that says, I'm proud of you, that blesses you? We know statistically speaking that when the father is not present in the life of a child, it is the number one indicator of things going off the rail for that child's life. It's not going to be their race. It's not going to be their socioeconomic upbringing. It's not going to be their geographic location. It's going to be, was dad present? That's what the data shows. And so when you see young men angry and lashing out, oftentimes it's because they want dad's blessing and they don't have it. So let me speak to the men in the room who are in that position. You may not on this side of eternity ever be able to get your father's blessing. But here's what you can seek. You can seek spiritual fathers in your life, right here. You can also seek the blessing of your Father in heaven who's willing to give it to you. Fathers, bless your sons. Be present for your sons. Love your sons. Love your daughters too. Obviously, that's a whole nother set of problems. But when we see the anger of young men in our culture today, you see the genesis of it right here. It's still the same issue. And then we see Rebekah. Manipulative, scheming. She sees the situation and she wants to act to save Jacob. So what does she do? She goes to Isaac with this big emotional appeal that he needs to send Jacob away to her homeland. Why? Because she can't go on living if he marries a Canaanite. Can't do it. I can't even, why would I live another day if my son marries a woman like that? She doesn't even say anything about the plot of Esau to kill Jacob. She's using here emotional sabotage. If you're not familiar with this is toxic empathy is what she's doing here. Allie Beth Stuckey, recently wrote a book on this. Joe Rigney has recently wrote a book about this. Toxic empathy is not compassion. Compassion is biblical. We are called to be compassionate. Watch. What toxic empathy does is it says whatever someone is feeling emotionally becomes the source of what ultimate truth is. In other words, if I'm angry and I'm upset, I have to be right. I have to be coddled. I have to be, at all costs, tended to. That's toxic empathy. If someone's emotional or upset, we can't have that, and so they have to be appeased. Now, ladies, I know guys can also do this too, but this is something that women, more so than men, are going to be prone towards. Rebecca is emotionally sabotaging her husband to get her way. I'm not going to ask a show of hands to ask if you've ever done that. But have you ever done that? Where you know that if you get all emotional, you can trigger him to move in response to you, to appease you, to take the sharp edge off, to fix everything, to make it better, right? Ladies, here's my challenge to you. Don't do this. Be self-controlled. Tell the truth. Don't be deceitful, as Rebecca does here. Govern your tongue and guard what you say. What does Isaac do? Well, in verses 1 through 5, we see he directs Jacob immediately. It doesn't like, she comes and she's like, oh, no, I can't go on. And he's like, get Jacob, bring him here. Jacob, you got to go. You got to go. Go to your mother's land. And then he blesses him. He says, the God of, the God of my father and my God will fulfill his promises to you. He's going to make you a company of peoples. Go to your mother's homeland. So what does he do? He capitulates. If Rebecca is guilty of emotional subversion and manipulation, what is Isaac guilty of? He's guilty of passivity. What Isaac doesn't do in this moment is lead at all. He does what he knows will please his wife. He does whatever he can do to give her what she wants so that it's no longer a thing. And listen, he's not young. He's not young. This is not like, I bet this is the first time Rebecca's done this. They've been together a long time. I would say that this is likely not the first time, and this is not the first time he's capitulated either. He wants peace in his home. But this is what I would argue. In choosing peace over confrontation, he's actually settling for a fake peace here. This is not real peace. He's not leading his home. She may have gone to him and asked him to make the decision, but Isaac's not leading here. He's being passive, 100%. Fellas, resist this temptation to passivity. Resist this temptation for fake peace. If peace be won with passivity, it's never going to be real. It must be with truth and love, not passivity. Sometimes it comes with confrontation, which means, fellas, you are to be gentle with your wives. You are to compromise in areas where there's room for debate and compromise, but you have to stop being passive where you need to be engaged and leading. Isaac is not leading here. He's being emotionally sabotaged to do what she wants, and he does it. And here's the deal. A lot of men also do this. In order to keep the peace, we don't want to have confrontation with mama. And I just want to say, by doing so, you may be keeping the peace in your mind when in reality, all you're doing is keeping quiet while the termites eat the beams. I told you it's going to be a fun day, guys. You still clapping? Everybody's like, yeah. And there's like, what's Esau's response to all this? Well, again, what does Esau crave more than anything? Dad's approval. He wants dad's approval. So what does Esau do? Esau hears that it displeases his father and mother for Jacob to marry Canaanite women. And guess what? He's already married to Canaanite women. So what does he do? He takes additional wives from non-Canaanite women. He goes to Abraham's brother, to Ishmael, and he marries on that side of the family to keep out of the Hittites and the Canaanites. Why? Because ultimately he is craving his father's approval. This is an example in all these situations of what humans do. Fallen, broken, sinful humans. We manipulate, we're deceitful, we're passive, we're angry, we're bitter. These are the things that we do. And you would say, you know, and where's Jacob in all this? He's also a deceiver. Why would God deal with any of us? And yet, what do we see unfold in the story? The graciousness of God. Jacob takes off for his mother's homeland. It's a multi-month journey, and we lock in on one particular night. He stops, he finds a rock that's big enough and smooth enough that he can use it like a pillow to lay his head on, and as he lays down, he begins to dream. And as Jacob dreams, what does he see? He sees a ladder going from earth to heaven, and angels of the Lord are ascending and descending from heaven to earth on this ladder. Heaven is opened up, and the Lord above says, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, the God of Isaac. And the land on which you lie, and your offspring I will give to you. He then emphasizes that this offspring is going to be as numerous as the dust on the ground, and they're going to be spread out from north to south to east to west. In fact, he says, listen, it's from you all nations of the earth will be blessed. In fact, we are a part of the north, east, south, west family of God. The Lord affirms to Jacob that he is with him everywhere he goes, and he will bless him. One of the things I love about the scriptures, and I mean absolutely love, is the Lord keeps pursuing sinners and scoundrels over and over and over again. I mean, isn't that good news this morning? That he keeps coming after those that are unworthy. He goes to the lowly, the failures, the least deserving, the outcasts, the unworthy. That's the grace of God. That's the grace of God. This is the love and mercy of our Father in heaven and his Son, Jesus. God still loves Jacob despite his scheming. He still loves Rebekah despite her deceit. He still loves and shows himself to Isaac despite his passivity. Because the God of all grace gives himself to us despite us. Friends, you need to understand, if grace were only for the deserving, heaven would be emptier than a vegan steakhouse. Would nobody be in there? Which leads then what? It leads Jacob to true worship. This grace leads Jacob to true worship. When he wakes up from this dream, he's acutely aware that he's not just having a dream from some bad food he had had the night before. The Lord is in this place, he says. He knew that the place was holy. He calls it the house of God, the gate of heaven. So what did he do after this experience? He took that rock that was being used as a pillow and he pours oil on the top of it, and he sets it up as a pillar where, like an altar, where he's going to worship the Lord. He said, God, if you will do all these things that you have promised, if you'll provide for me what I need and bring me back to my father's land, then you will be, what does he say? My God. Here's what I love about this. Jacob is not saying like, hey, if you can do this, this, and this, I'll believe in you. That's not what he's saying. In this moment, he's making his relationship with God personal. It's not about Abraham and Isaac anymore. It's about Jacob knowing God. You will be my God. I will walk with you. I will know you. This personal encounter with the Lord requires him to say, you'll be my God. My faith won't be my grandmother's anymore. It won't be my husband's. It'll be my faith. It won't be my parents' faith. It'll be my faith. You'll be my God, not just the God of my family and friends. Have you done that? Have you had that moment in your life where he's become your God personally, in reality? Where not only have you received his grace and you love him, but you run after him, you seek his nearness. You prioritize seeking his face in your daily life. Not just a few minutes in the morning and maybe a few minutes at night before you go to bed. I mean, in all things, coram Deo, before the face of God, in my vocation, in my marriage, in my parenting, in my task, in everything. Worship in response. Now watch this. Jacob then promises the Lord something. What does he promise? He says, I will give to you a tenth of all you give me. His worship of the Lord isn't just going to be words back to God. It's going to lead him to action. And his action is he's going to give a tenth of his wealth and material things that the Lord provides him. I want to highlight something really important here. I don't know if you have ever caught this or connected these dots. I want you to see it. The principle that's being discussed here is called tithing. That's what the word tithe means. It means a tenth. Jacob is going to tithe everything the Lord gives him. Now, there is debates amongst Christians in churches over the subject of tithing. Here's the debate. The debate is, are Christians today supposed to give 10% of everything the Lord gives them? Or is that outdated in the new covenant? And the reason that this is debated is because nowhere in the New Testament are you explicitly commanded to give 10%. We're told to be generous givers, we're told to be cheerful givers, and we're told to be consistent givers, but we're never given a percentage. Jesus told the Pharisees, he said, hey, you neglect the weightier matters of the law, and you tithe your cumin, your dill, your mint. You should have done that without neglecting the bigger things. So maybe Jesus is keeping it upheld, you could argue, but it's nowhere prescribed. But watch. But some people say, well, it doesn't have to be, because the assumption was it's commanded in the Old Testament, in the law of Moses, so therefore it continues. And watch, believers go back and forth over this issue. Let me just say this. I disagree with both. Here's what this is. This is a creational order issue. Let me explain what I mean. When does Jacob say, I'm going to give a tenth? Is it in response to the law of Moses or before? There is no law of Moses. Moses isn't going to be born for hundreds of years. And not only does Jacob do this, watch, you see Cain and Abel bring their first fruits of their crops and their herds in worship to the Lord. You see Abraham in Genesis 14 bring a tenth to Melchizedek, who is a Christ-like figure in the Old Testament. So why do these individuals bring their wealth and material things and their income to the Lord as part of their worship before it was ever prescribed in the law? Because why? Watch this. Because it's not a result of the law that we're to do this. This is a creational ordinance, meaning it's baked into how the world works in God's world. It's like Sabbath. You need rest days, not just work endlessly. It's like marriage. It's like the cultural mandate to take dominion. These are these are creational mandates. They're not, here's a law that God's given. These are baked into the cake of how God has made his world. One of the ways that God has made his world is that we are givers in our worship, and it happens to be a tenth. So what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us? It means we should see giving a tenth of all that the Lord has given us as an act of worship back to him. Let me ask you this. How are you doing on that front? Statistics say that the average American gives 2% of what they make to any charity. And Christians' numbers are no different. I would encourage you with this. Lock in with me here. If you're not giving anything, you should start giving something and do it consistently. You should at least take a step from nothing to something. But I would challenge you to aggressively evaluate, why haven't you been giving, and what do you need to do in order to do this faithfully? Here's the second thing. If you're giving something but it's not a tenth, I would say get to a tenth or move as close as you can to a tenth as soon as you can. And again, evaluate why you're not there and what's keeping you from being there. A third challenge I would give is, if you give a tenth, you are giving obediently, not generously. So I would challenge you to give beyond. Push yourself beyond, not for my sake, but for yours. Because there's nothing that feels better than generosity and obedience to the Lord. Now, here's I got to say this, because this is for all the, yeah, but you just want more money given to the church because you benefit from it, people. This is for you. You ready for this? First off, I don't get a cut, a percentage of what comes in on Sundays, all right? It's like, count it up, boys. I got 10% off the top, you know? Okay? Second, it's vital that if you love this church, if you call this church home and you're like, man, I love this church. I love everything on Sundays. I love the ministries that we do. I love the fact that we send missionaries. I love everything about this church. You don't realize this, but maybe you need to. Everything you love about it is fueled and funded by the generosity and giving of other people. So you should participate in that. Okay, here's the big point that I want to make, though. I believe giving to your local church should be the priority of our giving. There is not a verse of scripture for that. This is my personal conviction. I believe you're involved in a local church. That should be the priority place of where your giving goes. I'm not saying you can't give other places. I'm saying it should be your priority. Okay, you ready for this? But if your cynicism about me talking about this is what you're using as an excuse to not do it, then how about this? Start giving a tenth. Don't give a penny of it here. If your little inner lawyer's like, he's only saying this because, you know, he wants the church to have something. This is all the church does is ask for money. So here's my deal. If that cynicism is what's going to lead you to not be faithful in this area, don't give it here. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to go be faithful and obedient? Because that's what I care about. This is an act of worship, not commanded, but a part of what it meant as being image bearers of God. And it's the same for us as well. I told you at the beginning of the message, Jesus is in this passage in a very special way. Did you see it? Did you catch it? It's not when the Lord spoke. I believe that's the Father speaking. It's the ladder. It's the ladder. Jacob sees this ladder connecting heaven and earth, and angels are ascending and descending upon it. And you go, how is that about Jesus? Well, interestingly, Jesus said it's about Jesus. John chapter 1, the next day Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and he said to him, follow me. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. And Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. Nathanael said to him, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Philip said to him, come and see. Like, if you don't believe me, come. Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said to Nathanael, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit. Nathanael said to him, how do you know me? Jesus answered him, before Philip called you, you know, like when I wasn't with you, that thing that happened a couple hours ago. When Philip called you when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Nathanael answered him, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel. Jesus answered him, because I said to you, I saw you under a fig tree. Do you believe? You will see greater things than these. Like what, Jesus? And he said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Jesus says, I'm the ladder. I am that which connects heaven and earth. I am that which gives you access to the opened heavens above. Your entryway into the kingdom is on me and on me alone. In me you have access. Apart from me, you do not. Jacob saw a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, and he woke up amazed. And he said, surely the Lord is in this place. But what Jacob saw was a dream. Jesus fulfills it in reality. So when Jacob sees the ladder, he sees a glimpse of the gospel, which is the eternal plan of God to reconcile things on heaven and earth through his Son. And listen, and when you come to Christ and you put your faith in him, you're putting your trust in him, you find the same thing that Jacob found. God is here. Grace is here. Because heaven came down to meet you. Let's pray.
Hey guys, this is Pastor Erik here from the Journey Church. Thanks for watching and listening to the sermon. This is the end of the video for a reason, because during this time in our service, we go into an opportunity of praying for one another as a church body. Individuals who need prayer stand up and indicate that, and members of the body go around them and pray for them. And so because you're not in the room experiencing that, we would still like to pray for you. So if there are things that you need prayer for, there's things in your lives that you want others petitioning the Lord on your behalf for, why don't you email us at pray@tjclive.com. That's pray@tjclive.com. Someone will get that and immediately not only pray for you, but respond to you to let you know and to find out if there's anything else that we can do for you.